In this video, I'm going to be recommending my favorite books, podcasts, YouTube channels, and just influencers in general for any person who's creative, who's an aspiring entrepreneur, or anyone that just wants to get stuff done. That's all coming up. Hey, how's it going, guys? It's John Holt here with The Audio Journey, helping make music production accessible to all. And here on this channel, what I do is a variety of music production tutorials, mainly focused towards beginners and beyond. So if that's something that you might be interested in, then definitely consider subscribing. And to go alongside that, if you really want to turbocharge your progress with music production, then I'd recommend jumping into the Music Production Explained Facebook group that I run, which I'm active in every single day to answer those really annoying beginner questions that you come up against. And I also go live in there every week to get to know the group members and give that really nuanced kind of feedback and help, which I really enjoy doing. So feel free to jump into there if you feel like having a place to ask those questions will be helpful for you. And don't worry, guys, I'm not going to get preachy, and I'm not expecting you to go off and watch all of this content. It's probably not even physically possible. But I know that there's so much really, really good information packed into here that I think it's going to be really handy for you to listen to the way that I talk about these pieces of content and just cherry pick what's going to be right for you right now. And make sure you stick around, because I've got a little hack for you if you're currently sat here thinking, I'd love to start consuming this kind of content, but I just don't have the time. I really don't know when I'd fit it in. I've got your back. So let's dive into the first category, which is books. And genuinely, I could do a whole video on each of these, so I'm going to keep it really, really brief. And I've got them all listed down on here. So the first book is The War of Art by Steven Pressfield. Now, this book is really focused towards creatives, so it's really helpful to myself as a music producer. And it's all about approaching your creative endeavor, be it music production, be it photography, whatever it is, as a professional. And that doesn't mean you're trying to build a business out of it. It just means that even if it's a hobby, you're going to get a lot more out of it. You're going to progress much quicker, and you're going to see much better results from it, even if you're spending a little bit of time. And if you do want to maybe start doing something freelance on the side, then this is such an important book for you to go ahead and read. Now, this is a seriously quick read. None of the pages are actually full blocks of text. It's a really interestingly written book. I would really recommend that as a little gateway into getting into these kind of books. Book number 2 is Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk. Now, if you've followed me for any amount of time, maybe on Instagram or on here, you'll know that Gary V is someone that I talk about a lot.
Greatest era to be making music ever. Very simply because there's no fucking middleman stopping you. You're fucking dwelling about algorithms and Spotify this. It's the fucking greatest era. Get yours. Fucking make the music. Put it out. Get it.
Now, his 5th book, Crushing It, is all about how you can start a side hustle, start something on the side that you're really passionate about, and turn that into a business which could potentially become your full-time thing. He breaks it down with examples and case studies, which, to be perfectly honest, when I first heard about the book, I really wasn't keen on the idea. I didn't like the idea of reading through other people's case studies. I thought I just wanted the information on how to do it. But the case studies were actually one of my favorite parts of the book. And one of the core concepts that I really latched onto in that book is this idea that if you want to be an entrepreneur, if you want to be successful, then you shouldn't be aiming for $1 million. It's just a really daunting prospect. What you should be aiming for is something much more realistic, which is being able to do what you want to do. Something you're passionate about. If you're passionate about talking about Lego, then he gives you a strategy, a blueprint in this book on how to go about using social media in this amazing digital age that we're in to make it a reality, to earn something like 70 to 80,000 pounds doing that. And as opposed to trying to be the next Elon Musk or Bill Gates, it's like, this is actually realistic. So you could be doing a job that you don't like, earning that kind of money. Or you could take this book, this blueprint, put in the work for a few years and get to live life on your own terms, doing something you're ridiculously passionate about. So Crushing It by Gary Vaynerchuk is a must read if that is something that you might be interested in. And I would seriously recommend following Gary on whichever social media platform you use most. So if you're on Instagram, jump over and follow him on there. He's got loads of cool Facebook videos, very active on Twitter. Definitely get this guy into your social circle. And my final book recommendation here today, which was incredibly hard to whittle down, I will tell you, is Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. Now, this is a bit of a different flavor to the other two books. Now, this book was written in like the 1950s, I believe. So quite an old book. And Viktor Frankl, the author, was actually a survivor of the Holocaust. So he was a Jewish psychotherapist before the war, got caught up in Auschwitz and another concentration camp. And the first half of the book is about his experiences in the camp. And then the second part of the book is about the school of psychotherapy that he actually developed from the way that he handled the Holocaust. And the way that he handled it was with positivity. And the mindset is just something that really, really seeped through into my life and gave me a huge amount of perspective. That is the key word from this book, is it just gave me so much perspective. Now, this book was recommended to me by another book that I read, which is called Tribe of Mentors by Tim Ferriss, where he interviewed the top 100 people across different industries that were really high performers. And this was one of their most recommended books. So Man's Search for Meaning, again, is a really, really quick read. In fact, there we go. There it is. Really, really quick read. Even for myself, as I say, I'm a very slow reader. That is an absolute must read just to get your head in the right kind of place of, we do really have it good. It's going to make you happy while you're going after whatever you want to do. So if, like myself, you work a full-time job, or you're a parent, or you have other commitments outside of work and you don't feel like you have much time to sit down and read these books or consume this content, then as I said at the start, I've got a little hack for you, which was the shoehorn for me to get in to this kind of thing. I genuinely wouldn't be here without this tool. So that's what I want to share with you now. Now, that tool is Audible. And as you may or may not know, on this channel, I really don't do that many reviews. I don't talk about products. I don't take offers to talk about products, because I only talk about things that I've used and have had a really big impact on my life. And Audible is one of the only things that falls under that category. So the way that I used it is I just started putting one of these books on when I got up, when I was showering, when I was getting ready for work, having breakfast, and on my commute to work. That was a really big one. It gets you in such a good mindset for the day. It makes you feel productive with that time that's otherwise just spent commuting or making dinner or doing menial tasks. It really lets you squeeze a lot out of your days, your weeks, your months, and over time, like, you rack up so much knowledge and you gain a completely different mindset. Now, as I say, I really don't send you guys towards products unless I wholeheartedly believe in them. That's why I talk about so few. Audible is definitely one of the ones that has genuinely changed my life. So if you want to go ahead and sign up for just a free 30-day trial, which you can cancel at the end, you get a couple of free audiobooks. Then if you're in the UK or the US, there's a link down in the description below for you to go ahead and sign up. And if you do sign up for those links, just to be completely upfront, I get a small commission for that sign up. So if you wanted to support the channel in that way, I would really, really appreciate it, guys. But if not, then absolutely no worries. Let's dive into some other forms of content that you can go ahead and look at. Now, you're probably aware that we're living through the podcast revolution. Podcasts have become massively popular again because similarly to audiobooks, you can listen to them while you're commuting. You can listen to them while you're in the gym or you're cooking dinner. You can be multitasking and doing something productive at the same time. So here are my podcast recommendations for creatives, entrepreneurs, and people that want to get shit done. Number one is the Music Production Podcast. Now, this is run by Ableton certified trainer Afro DJ Mac, or Brian Funk. And Brian is a really, really cool guy, and the way that he interviews is fantastic. So he really dives into the mindset of these producers or business owners and gets the lowdown on what sort of motivates them, and really gathers their stories in a really captivating way. So Brian was also kind enough to have me on for an episode. So I'll link that show up down in the description below if you want to check that out. Now, the second podcast that I want to recommend to you guys is one that's a slightly different flavor. It's run by a guy that you might know. He's called George Ezra. He's a fantastic musician with songs like Blame It On Me, Budapest, Shotgun more recently, and he's become hugely successful. His latest album is fantastic, and in this podcast he sits down with people like Ed Sheeran, Lily Allen, and talks to them about their story. Now, I wasn't initially sold on the idea of this podcast, but I was genuinely hooked after the first few episodes. He's got such a cool voice. He's got such a humble, approachable kind of personality. And the way that he talks to these people and gets these stories out of them is so interesting. And the people that he talks to, the stories that they have are just incredible, man, as I'm sure you can imagine with the caliber of people that he's talking to. So I would seriously recommend checking out a couple of episodes of that. It's a very unproduced. It's like some of them, like with Lily Allen, they're just sat in a hotel room having a chat. It's not very sort of high production value. It's really, really raw and gets to the heart of why these people do what they do. So would highly recommend checking that out too. Now, the final podcast that I want to point you guys towards is the Unlock Your Sound podcast. Now, this is run by two friends of mine, Chris Pavey and Christopher Carvalho, who are two fantastically talented mastering engineers and business owners. So they also run the Unlock Your Sound Facebook group, which is where the idea for this podcast came from. And they are really doing what they can to demystify the sort of technical side of audio production, as well as some business stuff as well. And these guys are, as I say, two really, really good friends of mine. And they really come out of that sort of stigma that mastering engineers sometimes have of being quite highbrow and really technical and kind of snobby. That is the complete opposite of these guys. Like, if you have a question that you want to ask these guys, you absolutely can get hold of them and talk to them about it, and they'll be so pumped to talk to you about it. So they offer such a valuable resource in the podcast and the Facebook group. So I'll link both up in the description below for you guys to go and check out. And breathe. Now, finally, I want to point you towards a few influencers that have really helped shape my mindset as well. And some of these guys have written books, they've got podcasts, so there's a few places that you could find them. But I want to talk to you about a few of these people. And the first of those is Tom Bilyeu. Now, Tom Bilyeu runs one of my favorite YouTube shows, probably my favorite YouTube show, called Impact Theory. Now, what he does is he interviews people in like a 45 to 60 minute format. This is also a podcast if you don't want to watch the videos. And he talks to people like Gary Vaynerchuk, like Chase Jarvis, Brendon Burchard, like some really, really cool people. And he is just the best interviewer that I've ever come across, hands down. He really digs in. The people say things to him like, wow, you've really done your research, or like, wow, that's such an interesting question. I've never been asked that before. The interviews are incredibly high quality and really, really well produced. So I used to watch a TED Talk if someone was releasing a book and I wanted to find out a bit more about their idea. Now it's an Impact Theory episode. So I'll link up a few of my favorite episodes below, probably Chase Jarvis, Brendon Burchard, David Goggins, Mel Robbins were all fantastic episodes. Gary Vaynerchuk as well has done an episode. So I'll link those up below. Definitely check out Tom Bilyeu. So the second influencer that I want to make you aware of is Chase Jarvis. Now, Chase Jarvis is a world-class famous photographer. He's worked with brands like Apple and Nike on huge projects. And now he is an entrepreneur. He owns a company called Creative Live, who make video courses kind of like Skillshare, Udemy, but for creatives and entrepreneurs. So he's just a fantastic, fantastic content creator. His YouTube channel is brilliant. He's got a series on there called The Daily Creative, which is what I really, really wanted to share with you guys. I've binged that so much. Some of the titles of the videos were just like he was talking directly to me. It was like less consuming, more doing. I was like, damn, yeah, that hits home. So I'll link up that playlist below. Chase Jarvis has a fantastic podcast that I would highly recommend you check out. He interviews people like Richard Branson, Gary Vee, Brene Brown, like some awesome people. So definitely check him out. Check out Creative Live and check out the podcast in the description down below. And the final influencer that I want to share with you today is Brendon Burchard. Now, I've mentioned him a little bit in the previous influencers that I've been talking about, but Brendon Burchard is a fantastic author and coach. And the thing that Brendon has done that I've liked the most was his book, High Performance Habits, which I've read a couple of times now. And what Brendon's really helpful for is if you've got an idea of something you want to do, like for me, making courses, for example, he's the guy who's going to give you like a blueprint, like a strategy and a set of habits that are going to help you get towards that goal and be happy while you're doing it. So Brendon brings so much energy to everything that he does. His YouTube channel is a really, really good place to start. He's got videos from sort of 7 to 15, 20 minutes long that dive into some really, really interesting topics. So that's definitely worth checking out. His podcast, The Brendon Show, is also really good to check out. And High Performance Habits or The Motivation Manifesto are two really good books that he's written to dive in and have a look at as well, if that's something that you're looking to get into. So Brendon Burchard, the final influencer in this little video. So guys, I'm going to finish off this video by saying I really, really want to engage with you guys about these books, about this content. If you watch any of the videos, if you listen to the books or podcasts and they resonate you, drop me a message. I'll be so happy to talk to you about this. I'll jump on a call with you. I'll literally jump on a Skype call if you want to talk about these books and the content and ideas that they've given you, because I'm so incredibly passionate about what I'm talking about here. And as I said, sort of midway through the video, I think Audible is a really great way to get into this kind of content. That's exactly how I got in with a book called The Success Principles. It's kind of like all self-help books rolled into one. That's a really good place to start as well. So go ahead and join up in the link in the description below for a 30-day free trial of Audible, which you can cancel. That's not a problem at all. And as I said, I'd really like to talk to you about this, maybe even in my Facebook group, Music Production Explained, which again, there's a link in the description below for you to go ahead and join. So I really appreciate you sticking around for what's probably been a little bit of a longer video. Really appreciate your time. So I really hope to see you in another video again soon. And you take care, guys.